Hey everybody, welcome back for Season 2 of the Broken Banquet podcast. This season we've got more interviews with missionaries around the world, more interviews with authors who have written amazing books about missions, and more conversations about what it means for us to abide with one another. And yes, probably a story or two about Ashley taking a walk, eating food, or having drinks with someone who she now loves. We're so glad you're back, we're glad to be back, and we hope that you will enjoy this episode.
I'm going to
Ashley? Oh, come on.
I was just going to say I'm going to keep the microphone on my leg the entire time, and I will not move it.
I believe that you're going to try.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They really should have podcast classes. Like, this is how you should act during a podcast class.
I'm pretty sure most of them would start with you sitting at a desk with a microphone on a boom that's the correct distance from your face.
Oh.
It's just a guess.
All right.
This is just way too casual of a podcast.
But all right.
We're mavericks.
Well, hey, Will.
Hey, Ashley.
Welcome to the Broken Banquet podcast.
Oh, well, hey, thanks. Nice to be here.
I feel like we should apologize to our listeners for my lack of not putting up episodes for a couple of times this season. Things have just gotten really busy.
Yeah, I'm not sure an apology is what is owed as much as just an explanation.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think this podcast is at a point in people's lives where it's like a disruption to them if there's not a new episode to listen to. So I think we're probably short of owing apologies, but I'm totally happy offering an explanation.
Right. Well, very good. I appreciate that. But you have great wisdom. You're nearly a genius. And so we did take off.
Who are you talking to right now?
You, Will Bailey. I'm talking to you. But you had the forethought after our season 1. We did take a little bit of a hiatus between season 1 and season 2. And once you had teams leave for the summer, that's when we started recording episodes, and you wanted to have a lot in the bank. You wanted to have a lot down, like that we had saved, so that knowing that our spring
sloughed off.
That we had sloughed off. Thank you for making that part of your vocabulary. But yeah, so that we would have those ready to go, knowing that our lives really do have a lot of things going on. And then we had no idea that come January, things were really going to take off. And so you had a lot of forethought to have many episodes in the can, but then we started running low on those episodes, and we were going week to week. And then life just kept getting in the way. Will?
Yeah, we probably should have done one more trip to New Zealand and Australia just to do another 7 or 8 interviews, you know. Sorry we didn't think about that sooner. Or somewhere else in the world. Maybe we should have gone to like Southeast Asia for a couple of weeks and just done a bunch of interviews. But you know what? Hindsight's 2020, and we didn't do that. But yeah, things just got busy. I mean, this year for us, I guess if you look at the numbers, is about 35% busier than last year was, just in regards to the number of teams that are coming. And that's enough that it meant that there were a lot of days that we were hoping to be able to record, or I was hoping to be able to edit, and I just couldn't because there were so many other things with work and family life that also needed my attention. So yeah, I'm glad that we've been able to get the interviews done that we were able to do, and regret that we weren't able to be quite as consistent as we were in season 1 as far as having a new episode just about every single Monday.
I did enjoy replaying your episode and replaying my episode. I think that because of the new phases of life we're in, people were able to get to know us a little bit better just by replaying those episodes. So that was good.
Yeah, it still didn't get me up into the top 5. I was really at high hopes, and I'm not sure. I think it is what it is. I'll take it.
Tamara Boone is unreachable. So there's that.
I do not understand. Is she does she pay people to listen to it? Does she, like, how is she an influencer and we just don't know her that way? How does that happen?
We'll ask her next week when we're in South Africa.
Yeah, well, and I guess if we can do an interview with her and Jeremy while we're with them, that'll be 500 more listens if people find out she's on it. So, great.
That will be good. That will be good. I also, you said something earlier about your schedule and family. My favorite excuse that I've given to some of the interviews that we've had to cancel is Will has to be a dad today. And I love that family comes first for you, Will.
That's my favorite excuse too.
Yeah. So, Well, what's something, when you're looking back on this season, what's something that really stands out to you?
So I'm going to probably get into some trouble just because I can barely remember what I had for breakfast this morning. So trying to keep interviews and episodes from season 1 separated from season 2 is going to be challenging. I think the Brian Fickert episode was one that, I enjoyed. I mentioned it kind of during the interview. You and I talked about it beforehand. I had some struggles with When Helping Hurts when that book came out and the way a lot of people reacted to it. And I thought we're sort of driven away from seeking out missional opportunities because of that book. And so when you suggested that we talk to him, I was just not real stoked about it. But thankfully, after reading his follow-up book, Becoming Whole, and then having the chance to just talk to him, and it was just a lot of fun. And two, I mean, I'm still kind of starstruck by some of the people that we're getting to talk to. I'm just like, what in the world? So, I mean, getting to meet him and talk to him and also kind of work through some of those issues and see how much it mattered to him to address some of the issues that I think came out of the first book, and just how thoughtful they had been in writing Becoming Whole, and who gets to have that conversation personally with the guy. So I enjoyed that one a lot. The interview with Kenneth, what's Kenneth's last name?
Ruego.
The interview with Kenneth Ruego, I loved that. And just hearing about this organic, incredible ministry of trying to support local pastors and their families in Africa, their neighbors in Africa, and being community, and being church together and abiding with one another that way. And how often this year, and maybe some in season 1, but I think more so in season 2, hearing from people who are being led into missional relationships that focus on church leaders, pastors, and their families, and supporting them so that they can better do the work that they've been called to, which is, I think, a reflection of the ministry that you've developed in Shreveport, is supporting these missionary families so that we can better do the work that we've been called to do. And so those were 3 sort of highlights, 2 people and 1 kind of thematic highlight that come to mind. Well, yeah.
I'm really shocked that you did not mention Sherwood Lingenfelter.
Well, it's mostly because I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. Of course, I thought for some reason in my head that was like the very end of season 1, but you're right, that's season 2. So yeah, of course. I mean, that's the book I've recommended most to teams that are coming here to be a part of our ministry in Costa Rica.
Ministering cross-culturally. Yeah,
ministering cross-culturally. It's so good and so accessible, and it's kind of a fun read, but it's not just anecdote after anecdote. I mean, there's a lot of meat to it as well. So yeah, I mean, if I was gonna write a book ever, which of course no one thinks would be a good idea, but if I were, I would want it to be that kind of book, that's got some weight to it, but is easy to read and entertaining to read, and would kind of appeal to a pretty broad audience. So yeah, of course, that was, again, another kind of starstruck moment.
All right. I think what I loved about Sherwood, Dr. Lingenfelter, was how many copies of the book that they've been through. So versions. Version 1, version.
I think is the word.
Editions. Thank you. So they've been through several editions because some of their thinking has evolved over time. And I do think that that is a theme of season 2, is an evolution and learning, because I have constantly been learning through this podcast. And if I go back to episode 2 or 3 with Stephanie Robinson of this season, and the conversation with her with Faith to Action, and how specifically they were teaching churches and teaching partners of how to support orphanages transforming into something different, and how my church has then since gone through that evolution because of that episode. Not because of that episode, but with a lot of influence from that episode. So she taught us some of the things that we needed to do, and that led to so many follow-up conversations, which has led us into a great partnership and relationship with one another. So I think that that's a big highlight of my season 2, is how much I've learned that I've been able now to put into practice.
But I think we mentioned that during the episode with Vicki Sullivan, that we sort of started doing this hoping that it might help people think differently about their missional relationships and potentially lead to some changes if there were things that they realized needed to change. The fact that you, as one of the hosts of the podcast, through an interview that we did, realized this is something that the program that I'm leading needs to reconsider, I think I hope maybe just speaks to kind of how authentic this has been, and that, we're just trying to figure it out just like everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I haven't learned anything. I haven't changed anything about me or how we do stuff, because I've just been getting it right. But I'm really glad for you that there's some growth that's happened.
Well, if there was one word or 2 words I would use to describe you, Will, it would be Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way.
Mary.
Another thing that I've appreciated about this season is the generational experience of our podcast. So what I mean by that is having John Woodward and his daughter, Lissy, and then having Larry Dempsey talk about his family. And so what it means to have the first person of your family perhaps have some sort of missional experience. And then because of that, it goes through your family to the future generations and becomes part of the DNA of your family.
Yeah. And I also think the variety of people generation-wise that we've interviewed. I mean, we interviewed young adults in Australia, New Zealand,
Mm-hmm.
just out of their in their 20s, early 20s,
yeah,
all the way to octogenarians.
Yeah.
And I think being able to glean wisdom from everyone, I think it's important. I think it should be encouraging to people that we're not trying to say, okay, this group is out and this group is in, and this group is right and this group is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
What can we learn from everybody's experience and perspective, and good and bad? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy about that part for sure.
Mm-hmm. I think the episode with the most energy this season was by far Kay Ferguson.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
That was a really special episode for me because it really brought into my forefront as I'm going through this transition from Shreveport to the Woodlands of the things, the lessons, the events that have helped shaped who I am as a person, who I am as a disciple, and who I am as a missions leader, missions pastor. And it really helped me be able to put into words, to reflect on all of those circumstances and to say, wow, I see what God did there. And I'm so thankful that we allowed God to abide with us through all of this process, and for the lesson I've learned to abide with people, to listen and to learn from others, and to authentically go through this process.
Well, and I think interviewing her, Kay Ferguson, and Vicki, while sort of sitting on this secret. There were a number of interviews that we've done this season when you knew that you were making this transition. I knew that you were making this transition, but it wasn't public knowledge yet. And I think it'll be interesting. I mean, I can already sort of look back on those interviews, and it colors a little bit the way that I listen to things, knowing what I knew. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if anyone takes the time ever to go back and re-listen to some of those now, realizing kind of the process that you were going through, preparing for this big change and for it to be announced and all that kind of stuff. But I'm glad that conversations with church leaders from Shreveport were part of season 2. Mm. And I think it's, especially if anyone listened to those 2 episodes back to back and just realized how committed and involved the leadership that you've developed at that church is in the sort of the program and the vision. Mm-hmm. I guess this is right, that between the 2 of them, everyone who you all have a partnership with has been visited by the 2 of them with you, right? I'm not sure if either one of them individually has been to every partner, but I would assume that if you overlapped all of their trips, every single mission partner has been visited either by Kay or by Vicky and or by other members of the church and the committee. And so, correct. And I know there's people who they just think Ashley's job is globetrotting and hanging out with friends. I don't think everybody realizes that it's you and other people who are, made this commitment to abiding with these partners. Mm-hmm. And so I think just hearing that from them and how much it's meant to them and for their growth and the way they understand missions. And it's encouraging to me who, I fully expect that we will continue to be in partnership with First Church Shreveport, and knowing that, these people who are really part of the heart of the missions program at that church know us and have been here with us and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm thankful, because you probably could have gotten away with just you traveling around to see people, just say, hey, financially for the missions program, it's going to be better if we just buy 1 ticket for this trip instead of 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever. You could have probably gotten away with that, but then we would be in a completely different situation now. But because you included everyone, as many people as you could, in living out this vision, it gives me a lot more confidence moving forward in what our relationship will continue to look like with the church. Mm-hmm.
And I'm thankful that you'll be making a trip here soon. Several of the others have said they're making a trip here soon. And that vision doesn't go away with me. I'm so thankful of the church leadership, the congregation itself, to have bought into this vision, who have been such an integral part of the missional relationships, that it truly is our church's vision, not my vision.
We've kind of gotten off topic of season 2, but I've got a question. Right. What you just said kind of made me think of a question. Can you think of a moment in the last 10 years, like a specific thing that happened at the church where you were able to kind of step back and think, okay, good, they get it? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I think it was around 2018 or 2019. So a solid 5 to 6 years into educating the church on a new mission model. I believe it was around then when I started. I'm always on the circuit of teaching Sunday school classes or speaking at different church groups throughout the week. And when I started talking about each, I always just went in to say, let me introduce you to our global mission family. They started saying, we know all of this. We know all of these people. What's new with them? How can we be praying for them? It was about that year, 18 or 19, that started happening. And I was like, oh, it's not just my global mission family anymore. It's definitely the church's global mission family.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that meant a lot. That meant a whole lot. And I think that's a testament to, for the past 2-3 months, my number one question being asked of me is, what's going to happen with our global mission family? And I get to say, nothing. The global mission family of First Shreveport stays the global mission family of First Shreveport.
Yeah. Good.
Mm-hmm.
So back to season 2.
Season 2.
Forward to season 3.
Any other highlights from season 2? There were so many good episodes. I find myself often in just going back to listen to a few and relishing in the time we got to spend with these people.
Of course it was just so much fun to get to go kind of on location, to be able to do episodes together in the same room, and for that room to be on the other side of the planet. Of course, it was exciting. Huge headaches technically and all that kind of stuff. But still, like I think about that, the living room in that Airbnb in Auckland with, our computers set up and our microphones set up and wires everywhere. And it was just like, I enjoy that kind of stuff. Figuring out how are we going to get audio from 4 different people in this room that sounds like we're sitting in a tin can, and trying out different options and stuff. Like I enjoyed the process of that. And of course the people were lovely. It was great getting to hang out. We had interviewed Nate, we had interviewed Hamish, sitting in a room with Nate and Hamish together, which, was fantastic. And all of that stuff was just, who gets to do that? So
that's right. Yeah.
That was just fun. It was a fun adventure, and to get to spend time with those people, but to have this podcast be a part of how we were spending time with them was fun.
Mm-hmm. It has been fun. It has been fun, which always makes the breaks that we take just a little sad. But let's do transition into what's coming up next. And I know that you have the busiest ever summer ahead of you in quite some time.
And you're going to be so busy during your transition that you're not even going to miss it. But yes, we do. There's no week between now and the end of August that we don't have volunteers here. We have several weeks that we've got between 50 and 65 volunteers here. For 2 of those weeks, I'm going to be in Africa with you. So I've spent the last month starting to organize a daily calendar that, I'll make sure our staff has and the team leaders have, so everybody knows almost down to the minute kind of who's going where and when and with who, and expectations and coordinating worship service schedules with local churches, and what day are they having communion in which church, and then what evening service are they going to go to in what community. And I told somebody the other day, if I ever get fired as a missionary, I could probably get a job as an air traffic controller. But I'm best equipped for it at this point. So yeah, it's going to be a busy summer. We're back to the point of kind of where we were before the pandemic, and it's great. It's fun. It's exciting. We've got a group of 35 youth that are here from Alabama this week, and after the midweek prayer service that we had last night that went long, it was 2 hours. When I got here for breakfast this morning, one of the teenagers from the group said, that was the best worship service I've ever been to in my life. And I felt, holy cow.
Yeah.
If I can get that kind of unsolicited feedback from a teenager, I'll take it. So that's the kind of stuff that happens in the midst of all of the organized chaos that'll happen here between now and the end of August, is moments like that just make it so worth it. But it's also why there's just no way I could pour the amount of time and energy into this project that it deserves to make it what we want it to be, and also be able to be responsible for all the other stuff. So it's definitely a season where I do need to just kind of step aside, and hopefully, I think as has happened previously, during that season, both of us are going to start to get some ideas for things that might be interesting for season 3. I think if we can convince your new church that you and I need to do on location, recordings of some of these interviews, all over the planet,
Even better.
I think that's a great thing. And if they don't, that's okay. We'll make do. I'll just stay in Costa Rica and you stay in Houston and we'll be fine. But yeah.
Well, you did allude to that we are going to South Africa in a couple of weeks, and we do hope to record a final episode for season 2 while we are there, and we'll be there with the Boone family. Our listeners have heard from Tamara Boone, the Tamara Boone, and Jeremy, her husband, who had his own episode in season 2. Finally. And we'll bring that last episode before the end of June. And then we'll take some time away. I start my new position on July 1st, and we'll hit the ground running. And I have to tell you, Will, that now that my house has been moved into, now that I really am finishing up here, and I think I'm finishing well at Shreveport. I really do. I'm going to preach this week. I'll preach again at the end of June on my last Sunday. But I think that things are ending well here, and I'm finally allowing myself to be excited about the move and the opportunity at the Woodlands. Awesome. So I've been smiling a lot lately. I've been thinking about some of the first conversations. I actually, first week of June, will get to go down and meet with the missions committee and meet with some of the pastoral staff and film my welcome video. And so I'm looking forward to what that has to hold. So there's so many great people at this church that I've met already, and I'm looking forward to learning from them, number one, because so many of them have been a part of the missions committee and the missions ministry since the beginning of the church. And so learning from them where they've come from and what they've learned along the way, and being able to add my little bit of experience and learnings from this podcast and just life in general, to seeing how those two things meld together. I know God has something great in store for all of us.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that I'm thankful that you've had the time since you knew that this was going to happen to finish well and weren't rushed and were able to spend time with the people you needed to spend time with and do things at the church that you needed to be able to do. I'm thankful that you had that time. I just realized while you were talking, I've been paying so much attention to what you were saying that I didn't even realize the fact that you're sitting where you always sit, but your bookshelf is empty. It looks like a nail sticking out of the wall where you used to have a picture or something hanging. I mean, you're in your office, but it's empty. Like, holy cow, nobody can see that but me. I'm not trying to make you cry, but this is the last time we'll do this with you sitting in your office. I really thought about that until right now. But the next time, well, except for South Africa, but fingers crossed, episode 1 of season 3, you'll be sitting in your new office with a new bookshelf. And that's really exciting. Of course, who would have imagined if I could go back and look at the video from episode 1 of season 1 of you sitting in your office and we were just starting to do this, who would have imagined that at episode, whatever this is going to be, 30 of season 2, you'd be sitting in an empty office.
Wow. You promised not to make me cry. It is.
Who else? Who are the people that have made you cry?
Nate. Nate's made me cry.
Nelson.
Oh, yeah.
Nate made you cry. But somebody else made you cry recently.
Oh, yeah.
Did Jeremy make you cry? No.
I don't remember.
No. Anyway.
Yeah. Nate made me cry while in Thailand, and not because of my broken foot with the elephant dung, but, because of other reasons. Hey, I'm out of the boot. Yeah.
So good. Well, that'll make traveling a whole lot easier.
Yeah. It still hurts, but I got rid of the boot. Well, it's true. My office is empty, and the next person is moving in this weekend, so it's a good thing I cleaned out my office.
Get out of here.
Oh gosh. Well, I am looking forward to season 3. I am looking forward to the new people that the Woodlands Methodist Church will introduce me to so that we can then be introduced to them. I'm looking forward to embedding myself within the missions committee and hopefully having a few of them on to hear about their journeys in missions and just all of the new excitement, the people, everything that comes with a move. So,
well, and that's something that I've thought about is, and who knows, I think we'll both have clarity farther down the road, but one possibility for kind of an arc or whatever that's called for season 3 would be just sort of following you through your transition into this new position at a new church. And while you're learning about missions at the Woodlands, our listeners are learning about it with you. And I'm not sure if that's something that would be doable or not, but I think it could be interesting because there's so many new people that you're going to be coming into contact with at the church and people that they're partners with already around the world. And so, including them in these conversations that we've been having, I think potentially could be interesting for people, listeners who feel like they know you now, just through following us through the first 2 seasons and might want to know, how's it going with Ashley at the new church? And so I think they'll probably be hearing a lot about that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing, so we won't have to talk about me at all.
Well, you're so good at it, Will. You're just so good at what you do. You're so good at living into who God called you to be.
I hope that's what I'm living into.
Well, Will, I can't wait to see you in South Africa.
I know 1 week from today, we start our journey because we'll travel to Alajuela next Thursday, which is the 7th of June, and spend one night en route to South Africa. And then we'll spend a couple of days in Johannesburg with the guy that I lived with when I lived there for a summer, who's now a pastor and has a family. And so we're going to go spend a couple of days with them, but then we'll meet you in the Boons on Tuesday.
Sure.
A week from Tuesday. So cannot wait.
I can't wait either. And I hope you have a great time with Sifiso. You mentioned him on episode 1 of season 1, and I'm excited that you'll be able to reunite.
Me too. And I was messaging with him the other day, and there's several people who I knew and was able to be sort of in ministry with and learn from over the course of that summer, who he's still in contact with and is going to try and figure out a way for me to get to see one of them. Because he's the only one that I've had any contact with since I left almost 25 years ago. Wow. And I would love to have the opportunity to say to those people face to face how much that time that I was able to spend with them and their openness to allowing me into their world and their ministries, just how formative that was for me, understanding my calling into the world as a missionary. So I'm really, really, really excited that I'm going to get to do that, and that Yolanda and Isabella are going to get to be a part of it. So it's going to be amazing. Thank you for being the catalyst for that.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of your 25 years going back, so I'm going back to Houston, moving back to Houston, nearly 20 years to the day that I last moved to Houston. And that has stuck in my mind a lot recently, of reflecting on that, of my time, my 5 years that I had in Houston before. And so it's caused me to reach out to some of those people that maybe I'm friends with on Facebook, but I don't really keep up with. Like, we friended each other a while back, but I haven't kept up with them per se or had a conversation with them in years. And it's been fun to say, hey, guess what? I'm moving back to Houston, and I hope that we could reconnect in some way, shape, or form over the next few months of at least just having a cup of coffee and saying hello and seeing where life has led us over the last 15 years. And that's been an exciting revolution, an entire coming back to the beginning, full circle.
Yeah, I'd completely forgotten that you have lived in Houston before. That's awesome.
Yeah.
we can't wait to visit you there and to see the new home and to see the new church, and very exciting.
Likewise, friend, our relationship will be different, but it will never go away.
Yep.
All right. Well, listeners, stay tuned for the next episode from South Africa, and then stay tuned for season 3.
Bye, Ashley.
Bye, Will. Bye, listeners. You've been listening to The Broken Banquet, a podcast by Will Bailey and Ashley Goad. Music provided by Irene and the Sleepers. Join us next week for another episode. He's prepared the table. All things are ready. Come to the feast.